for the presentation of the colors by the FFA and remain standing until all veterans have entered the gym. Next, I would like to please welcome the high school chamber choir to sing the national anthem.
Can you see by the dawn's early
Next, I would like to introduce Ms. Riley Mays, Middle School Student Council President, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may all be seated. Once again, I would like to welcome everyone to our Veterans Day Assembly, and thank you so much for attending. I'd like to give a special thanks to the Middle School Student Council for doing the pledge, the high school choir for singing the national anthem, Mr. German and the band and choir, as well as all of the student body for allowing me to speak on your behalf this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, teachers and students, today I want to talk to you about a very special day that plays a significant role in the history of our great nation. Veterans Day is a day when we can come together and honor and show our gratitude to the brave men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces. It's a day to remember, reflect on history, and pay tribute to those who have selflessly defended our freedoms. Veterans Day was originally known as Armistice Day. It holds a historical significance that dates back to the end of World War I. On November 11th of 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent and a ceasefire was declared, marking an end to what was once called the War to End All Wars. This event is a symbol of the hope for lasting peace and the courage of those who served. One of the most famous stories from this time was from a young soldier named Henry Gunther. He was an American soldier serving in the final minutes of World War I. With just minutes left before the armistice, Gunther was driven by a sense of duty and charged towards a German machine gun nest. He lost his life just minutes before the armistice. He became the last American to die in World War I. His story reminds us of the incredible sacrifices made by so many young men and women during times of war. World War II was another pivotal moment in our history. It was a war that many of our grandparents and great-grandparents lived through. Imagine being a high school student during that time. Your friends and family may be sent off to fight in a faraway place and not knowing if they would return. It was a time of immense courage and sacrifice. Thousands of young Americans left their homes and loved ones to fight against the forces of tyranny. Their bravery changed the course of history and secured the freedoms that we enjoy today. One remarkable story from World War II is about the Navajo Code Talkers. They were Native American Marines who used their native Navajo language to create an unbreakable code. The Code Talkers played a vital role in transmitting messages during battles in the Pacific Theater, and their code remained unbroken throughout the war. Their contribution was not only courageous, but ingenious. The Vietnam War was a different kind of conflict. Many Americans were divided on the issue, but the soldiers who served in Vietnam, many of them barely older than high school students, were doing what they believed was right. The story of Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore at the Battle of La Drang is a testament to the bravery and resilience of the American soldier. Facing overwhelming odds, they held their ground, and their heroism is still remembered to this day. The stories that I've shared with you are just a glimpse into the incredible history of our veterans. And there are countless more stories of bravery, sacrifice, and determination. Veterans Day is an opportunity to remember not just these big historical events, but also the individual experiences and sacrifices of the men and women who have served in our armed forces. Today, as we gather to honor our veterans, let's take a moment and appreciate the sacrifices made by these individuals, like Henry Gunther, and the courage of the Navajo Code Talkers, and the resilience of soldiers like those at the Battle of Ladrang. Let's remember our modern-day veterans who continue to protect our nation and its values. To the students here, I encourage you to seek out the stories of the veterans in your families and your community. Learn from their experience, ask them questions, and understand the history that they represent. By doing so, you not only pay tribute to their service, but also ensure that their stories are passed down to future generations. In conclusion, Veterans Day is a day to honor, remember, and learn. It's a day to appreciate the sacrifices and bravery of our veterans throughout history. Let's take this opportunity and say thank you to the veterans in our lives. Let's ensure that their service and lessons from their stories are never forgotten. Our veterans have given us the gift of freedom, and it's our duty to cherish it and protect it. Thank you to all the veterans who have served this country, and thank you to the students for helping me join in this tribute to their service. Happy Veterans Day. My next guest is a man that needs quite an introduction. He has been an American Legion commander. Mr. Baker served for over 40 years in the Legion. He has been post commander, past county commander, past district commander, and has served on the national commissions, and most recently has been named the vice state commander. Mr. Baker is a retired 20-year Army veteran, and with the highest regard, I present to you Mr. Philip Baker.
Welcome to today's ceremony. Thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We're here today to honor our service members and to remember their sacrifices that they have made and the courage it took to defend honor, duty, and country. I'm especially happy to be here today because the 10th actually fell on my birthday. Usually November 11th is Veterans Day, and I use that day to recuperate from the birthday, but today is November 10th. Marine Corps birthday for you Marines. I don't know if I would have gotten better duty or worse duty by acclimating that I was born on that day, but never found out I wasn't tough enough to be a Marine. So I went in the Army for 20 years. Anyway, you know, every one of us when we were on active duty, whether drafted or enlisted, had a 2-year hitch or a career soldier, stateside or in a war zone, we all look forward to coming home. Clearwater High School has hosted these Veterans Day appreciation breakfasts and assemblies for many years. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but this is like coming home to a hero's welcome. I'd like to start by giving them all a round of applause from us. And when I say guys, let's not forget about the women in uniform. They didn't carry an expensive purse. They carried a 45-pound rucksack, an M16 rifle, canteens, and their living supplies. While other gals shopped with their girlfriends, they cleaned a rifle, packed their bags, slept on the ground in bad weather, and had no sleep along with their battle buddies. In peacetime and combat tours, when you've worn heels, they wore combat boots. Instead of the makeup that you and I wear on your face to make yourself look pretty, they painted their face with camouflage for protection and so they couldn't be seen. Don't forget about the women in uniform. It's important to us to recognize and celebrate not only our heroes, but our sheroes. Now, I'd also like to ask the family member of any service member to stand We know you've all lived through difficult times and often taken the heavy load to keep the home fires burning. So at this time, would anybody stand that has a member in the service or had a member in the service or present? Wow, you can see, there's a lot of them. So just about every family has or had a member in the service. And so I thank all of you for backing them up while they were on their service tour. Thank you. The service members we honor today come from all walks of life. They shared several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, dedication, determination, selflessness, and dedication to duty and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve a cause greater than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which had given them, us, so much. We're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. We stand amid patriots and the family and friends of those who have nobly served to honor them for their bravery. But nothing can ever replace the hole left behind by a fallen service member. No number of medals and ribbons can comfort the ones left behind. Today, people throughout the country will gather to remember and honor, pay gratitude to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark in the flame of pride that burns across the nation today and should every day. While those who died are also remembered on Veterans Day, primarily Veterans Day is a day set aside to thank and honor all those who served honorably in the military in wartime and peacetime. In fact, Veterans Day is largely intended to honor the living, to acknowledge their contributions to our national security, and to underscore the fact that all of those who served, and not only those that died, have sacrificed and done their duty. We must always remember that each veteran represents an oath taken that included a willingness to die for this country if called upon. We must never forget why we have and why we need our military. Our armed forces exist solely to ensure our nation is safe so that every one of us can sleep soundly at night, knowing that we have guardians at the gate. Tragically, the effort to make America and the world safer and to defend freedom around the world is not without an enormous cost to the nation in terms of lost lives and those who bear the scars and the wounds of war and their families who bear these losses. The American Legion, as well as the Clearwater Schools, is dedicated to remembering the legacy of all veterans. What these men and women have done for us matters to America. It matters to the people overseas who were liberated from tyranny due to the sacrifices of our military members, from defeating communism, fascism, imperialism, to liberating slaves, keeping the peace during the Cold War, and battling terrorism today. Veterans have accomplished remarkable things throughout our nation's history, and this is why we hold the veterans in such regard. Ladies and gentlemen, students, veterans have preserved the country that we love so much. America's military men and women risk life and limb every day so that we can be free. The true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but because he loves what's behind him. From Bunker Hill to Baghdad, there's always been a select group of Americans willing to fight and possibly die for a cause greater than their own self-preservation. For most, it might be a first time in a long time they've had a purpose. It wasn't about money, rank, or privilege. It was about raising the flag, We do what we do because no one else can or will do it. We must never forget why we have and why we need our military. And must never forget that the highest appreciation and to live by them. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. While fewer than 10% of Americans can claim the honorable title military veteran, this special group often provides the vital services that enable our communities to function. Whether it's a school teacher, construction worker, or first responder, military veterans take their mission seriously. They vote in higher percentages than non-veterans and are most likely to volunteer in their communities. In short, veterans make our communities better. It's often said that without our veterans, Americans would be speaking Russian, German, or perhaps Japanese. Regardless of which view of alternative history you take, we know that without our veterans, America would not be America. The outpouring of our respect for veterans in the schools and the businesses in Wayne County is heartwarming to us vets, and deservedly so. Thank you so much to the students that put so much heart into this program, and the teachers and faculty that assist and guide them. Educators as well as veterans organizations know and realize that the youth of today are our leaders of tomorrows to come. So it's great that they instill patriotism in the students, and it's commendable virtue and will remain in their hearts for a lifetime. Undoubtedly, you students in the audience today will choose to serve our society in many ways. Many of you are serving society at Clearwater right now in various clubs and organizations available to you in school, which in some cases serve the community. And if I talk a little weird, don't mind me, because I just got false teeth about 2 weeks ago, and every once in a while they kind of drop on me and I start lisping, so bear with me if I have a problem talking. You can serve by expanding your education after high school and returning home to your community as a professional, or by attending a trade school and coming back skilled in one of many various crafts. Each of you students will find the path that is best for you. And along the way, some of you choose to serve your country by joining one of the military branches of the armed forces. Someday, years down the road, you may find yourself back at this very school, being recognized and honored for your service in your country, and you may be sitting in the audience. Remember this: after I leave today, if you didn't get anything else from my message, that sometimes we take our veterans for granted. We owe our freedom and the quality of our lives to them. It's a debt that we can never pay back, but we can pay forward. Remember, when you see a veteran in your daily lives, all that's needed is a simple thank you, directed at a veteran for his or her service. This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it's a home of the brave. If you want to thank a soldier or a veteran, be kind of the American worth fighting for. There's a great adage that if you wait to thank everybody instead of somebody, you'll end up thanking nobody. If you haven't made a practice of doing this, I hope you'll consider it. Do it to change somebody's life. I promise you it will probably change yours. I thank you again for allowing me to speak on behalf of the nation's veterans. One of the most important missions in my life has been helping fellow veterans to find ways to continue life of dignity, purpose, and a meaning as they return home. People often ask me, how should we honor our veterans? Simple answer: live their values, follow their example of service and sacrifice. The greatest way that we can honor our veterans is by expressing our gratitude. Some people live an entire lifetime and wonder if they've contributed to society and the world, but veterans shouldn't have that problem. They know what they contributed. So God bless you all for being here. God bless America. God bless our men and women in uniform, past, present, and future. I thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. I would now like to present to you Jamie Foster, who will be welcoming you and sharing a statement of appreciation on behalf of the student body.
Good morning, veterans. Good morning, students and staff at Clearwater. Welcome to the 2023 Veterans Day Assembly. My name, as Mr. McFadden said, is Jamie Foster, and it's great pride and gratitude that we are able to gather today at Clearwater to commemorate Veterans Day this year. This solemn occasion allows us, the students, to pay our heartfelt respects to the brave men and women who have served with our nation with unwavering valor and devotion. We stand united as a school community, acknowledging the sacrifices made by our veterans and the invaluable lessons they've imparted to us about courage, honor, and the indomitable spirit of our great country. As we assemble in this gymnasium, we also take a moment to recognize the vital role that my classmates and our staff play in shaping the future of our nation. The knowledge and wisdom imparted within these school walls are instrumental in fostering the leaders of tomorrow. And it is with great spirit that we are to come together to celebrate this profound connection between the past, present, and future. Today, we honor our veterans and provide an opportunity for the students to learn from their experiences, appreciating the sacrifices that have made our freedoms possible, and inspiring them to embody the values of service and patriotism. Let this Veterans Day Assembly serve as a powerful reminder of the bond between generations and the importance of preserving the legacy of those who have served and continue to serve with distinction. Thank you.
My next guest is somebody that I want to take just a second and say a few things about. Mr. Roach has been doing this Veterans Day Assembly since I sat on that side of the gym as a fifth grader. He has been a part of this thing forever. He's the guy who has more or less showed me the ropes as far as what to do and how to honor you today. So it's with my greatest pleasure that I introduce to you Mr. Roach, who will be recognizing the veterans as individuals.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Veterans Day service. Thank you for the veterans and their families coming today. Hope you've had a good morning, good breakfast, and I hope that you have a terrific day. This is the time of our program where we'd like to recognize our veterans individually. And we ask, as I read off the names, that our audience holds off on their applause, please, because we want to make sure that every veteran's name is heard and they're recognized the way they should be. So veteran, when I call your name, if you just want to wave or stand up quickly, let them know who you are. Okay? All right, first on our list, Mike Tiffany, United States Army, 1975 through 78. Roger Rayfield, United States Navy, 65 through 68. Bill Long, Air Force, 1989 through 1993. David Waits, Army, 1962 through 1963. Joshua Jones, Army, 2001 through 2004. 2008 through 2013. Charles Brooks, Marines, 1968 through 1971. Sherry Kreider, Army, 1980 through 1982. James Collins, Air Force, 1994 through 2018. Fred Esser, Air Force, 1983 through 1987. Army, 1989 through 1991. Gary Hewitt, Air Force, 1966 through 70. Sheldon Wren, United States Army, 2008 through 2014. James Burkett, United States Army, 1969 through 89. Roger Tanner, Army, 1970 through 73. Lynn Sisson, 52 through 61, Navy and the Coast Guard. Richard Mitchell, United States Air Force, 1968 through 89. Paula Eaton, Marines, 1987 through 94. Philip Baker, Army, 1965 through 1992. Delbert Moore, Air Force, 67 through 87. James Shear, National Guard, 50 through 54. Navy, 54 through 58. Matt Hahn, Army, 2007 through 2013. Randy Mell, Navy, 1993 through 2016. Larry Borner, Army, 1970 through 73. Joe Lance, Air Force, 66 through 72. Nick Flitter, Army, 1950 through 54. Tony Elkin, 1983 through 1987 Navy, 2001, 2018 Army. Zachary Elkin, United States Navy, 2014 to 2018. Jessica Copenhagen, Air Force, 2005 through 2013. Michael Hawkins, Army, 1990 through 98. Robert Kirkpatrick, United States Army, 1981 through 2005. David Bellflower, United States Army, 87 through 96. Gary Buckley, Army, 1952 through 1954. Jim Hawkins, Navy, 61 through 65. Levi Kennard, Marines, 2001 through 2005. Louis Bell, Marines, Army, 1961 through 1991. Gary Shear, Navy, 1972 through 1975. National Guard, 1979 through 1986. Ben Thompson, 1998 through 2007, Army National Guard. Kent Cisco, United States Air Force, 1976 through 2005. Steve Eaton, Army, 1999 through 2019. Matt Keister, Army, 1999 through 2002. Tim Marler, Air Force, 1985 through 1987. Now would you join with me to thank for the veterans and welcome to our assembly.
At this point in our ceremony, I would like to welcome back Jamie Foster to recognize wars and conflicts as groups.
The United States has been involved in multiple wars and conflicts over the past century. Veterans, please stand or raise your hand when I read the name and description of the war or conflict you served in. World War II. World War II was a global military conflict that involved most of the world's nations eventually forming two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. It was the most widespread war for history with more than 100 million military personnel mobilized, marked by significant events involving the mass death of civilians, including the Holocaust and the only use of nuclear weapons in the warfare. It was the deadliest conflict in human history, resulting in an estimated 50 million to over 70 million fatalities. Over 16 million Americans served in World War II, liberating Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Pacific from the threat of tyranny. The Cold War. The Cold War is a term commonly used to refer to a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union following World War II. The term Cold War is used since there was no large-scale fighting directly between the two superpowers. Military personnel fought to maintain global peace and avoid nuclear war. Korean War. The Korean War was a conflict during the Cold War between North Korea and South Korea. Allies of South Korea included the United States and its United Nations allies. The 6.8 million Americans that served in the Korean War protected South Korea from falling into the hands of communist North Korea, China, and the Soviet Union. Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a conflict between North Vietnam and South Vietnam during the Cold War. The United States deployed troops to protect South Vietnam from the threat of communist expansion in Southeast Asia. More than 8.7 million Americans defended South Vietnam in what became known as America's largest war. Persian Gulf War. The Gulf War was a conflict between the United States and its UN allies against Iraq. More than 700,000 Americans served during the Gulf War in operations that included Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm, and the Operation Desert Safety. War in Afghanistan. Operation Enduring Freedom is the official name used for the war in Afghanistan, together with 3 smaller military actions underneath the umbrella term of the Global War on Terror. The recent conflict was made up of an all-volunteer force, many of whom chose to serve following the September 11th attacks in 2001. Over 800,000 Americans served in the war in Afghanistan. War in Iraq. The Iraq War was an armed conflict in Iraq that began with the invasion of Iraq by the United States-led coalition that overthrew the Iraqi government of Saddam Hussein. The conflict continued for much of the next decade as insurgency emerged to oppose the coalition forces and the post-invasion Iraqi government. Over 1 million Americans served in the war in Iraq. Peacetime. Peace is something many of us take for granted. It can be easy to forget those who served in times of peace, but their service should not be overlooked. Those who serve in times of peace make the necessary sacrifices to prevent the list I have read from being longer and guarantee our safety every day. Thank you.
I would now like to have your attention addressed to the screen. We have a video produced by Mrs. Briley. She's not here today, so Mr. Whitmer is going to help us out with playing the video. While the lights are coming back on, I would like to introduce Haley Esser, Georgia Eaton, Janet Keister, and Isaac Thompson for the Fallen Soldiers table.
A sad part of military etiquette is honoring service members who have fallen in the line of duty. Remembering them honors their sacrifice and that of their families. It also underscores the importance of commitment to duty made by the living. One beautiful, thoughtful way to honor those who have died is a fallen soldier table. Each element on the table symbolizes something specific. Table. A table set for one is small, symbolizing the fragility of one isolated prisoner. The table is round, to represent everlasting concern on the part of the survivors for their missing loved ones. The tablecloth. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms.
A single rose. A single rose in a vase signifies the blood that many have shed and sacrificed to ensure the freedom of our cherished United States of America. This rose also reminds us of our beloved family and friends and missing comrades who keep the faith while awaiting their return. Yellow ribbon. A yellow ribbon around the vase represents the yellow ribbon worn on the lapels of the thousands who demand, with unyielding determination, a proper accounting of their comrades who are not among us today. A slice of lemon. A single slice of lemon on a bread plate represents the bitter fate of the missing. Salt. Salt sprinkled on the bread plate is symbolic of the countless volunteers of families as they await their loved ones' return. Inverted glass. This glass inverted on the table represents the fact that the missing and fallen cannot partake of the food and drink set at the table. The Bible. The Bible represents spiritual strength and faith, a source of sustainability to those lost from our country. A lit candle. The lit candle is reminiscent of the light of hope that lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors and into the open arms of a grateful nation. Empty chair. An empty chair represents the missing and fallen that cannot be present. And as we set this table today, let us remember and never forget those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
I would now like to take a moment and remember our deceased veterans and widows. I invite everyone to stand up and join me in a moment of silence, followed by the playing of taps. We do this in the honor of those veterans who have gone before us and who gave their life in the line of duty for our country. You may be seated. Please direct your attention to the chamber choir as they sing Amazing Grace.
Amazing
I would now like to introduce Ms. Tanya Mariani for a special presentation.
Good morning. I would like to take a moment to recognize the following seniors who have enlisted in our military. I would ask that the audience hold their applause until the end. When I call your name, please stand up. Nate Spears, Marine Corps; Lucas Hooper, Army National Guard; and Carson Duncan, Army Reserves. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you so much for coming to the Veterans Day Assembly today. Thank you to everybody who has been at work behind the scenes making this thing happen. This is my favorite day of the year. This means a whole lot to me, so thank you so much for everything that you guys have done for us. With that, that actually concludes our Veterans Day ceremony. Students, please rise and give one more round of applause.